You cannot have something externally that you don't have internally. Start by getting so intimately connected with yourself. Why did I do that? Why am I believing that? What would I have to believe about myself in order to feel the way I feel? What would I have to believe about life? What would I have to believe about other people in order to feel these emotions I'm experiencing? Start to get very curious about yourself, because everything that you are experiencing in your relationships is coming back to that relationship with yourself. Let go of the judgment for yourself. Learn how to nurture you, because what will happen is everyone around you will reflect that love that you radiate from within.
Welcome to Sheila's Take, your go-to podcast for thoughtful insights on love, faith, health, fitness, relationships, and navigating today's challenges through a spiritual perspective. Join me, Sheila Dunbar, as we explore various aspects of life with a mindful and godly approach. Tune in for engaging discussions on all things meaningful and transformative. Welcome back to Sheila's Take, and today I have Miss Tammy Cox, a highly skilled trauma healing specialist whose work has transformed the lives of so many women. Tammy specializes in helping women rebuild their lives and relationships through profound emotional healing, with a particular focus on inner child work. By guiding her clients in identifying and healing unresolved traumas, Tammy enables them to reconnect with their authentic selves and foster deeper emotional intimacy with others. Now, whether you're facing a relationship crisis or simply seeking a richer connection with yourself and others, Tammy's action-oriented coaching style will guide you toward the fulfilling and loving relationships you truly deserve. I'm so excited to dive into Tammy's insights and her experiences today. So, without further ado, welcome, Tammy. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good, Sheila. I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you, because I could just tell from your energy that you are just such a ray of sunshine in this world. And I want to thank you for what you give this world, because it is such a gift.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much. I know that you are a trauma healing specialist. So, first of all, let's go into exactly what that is and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become a trauma healing specialist.
Yeah. So basically, we all experience trauma. It's just a natural part of life. It's actually what keeps
Mhm.
us safe and keeps us alive. So it is actually a really good thing. However, if we do not deal with our traumas, if we don't neutralize them, what happens is we have a bunch of stored emotion in the body. And in particular, it's stored negative emotion. So pain. So what I do for my clients is we pull the pain out, we neutralize the trauma, and we actually find the beliefs that were connected to the trauma, which is essentially holding them back from whatever love they're trying to call into their life. So it's what I call the root cause of whatever the pain point is, whether they can't find love, they're
Mhm.
constantly attracting toxic love, whether they have a marriage that's, not working. It doesn't matter what the issue is. We can always track it back to trauma within the childhood.
So what you're saying is, if we have a couple who has issues in their relationship, in their marriage, you're saying it has something to do with a past trauma?
Absolutely.
Can we go in a little bit more detail? Explain that.
Yeah. So in the first 5 years of life, right, this is
Mhm.
when we're programmed, meaning we do not have the upper faculties of mind, which means, you know how they say kids are like a sponge.
Yeah.
They literally, before the age 5, you do not have the ability to reject information. So all the beliefs and thoughts of the people in your close proximity, they're all getting downloaded onto your hard drive, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so all the I ams, I am this, I am that, and the all those I ams are getting downloaded onto your track. So your identity is formed in those first 5 years. Right? Everything that you believe yourself to be, you may look at yourself as an adult and be like, "Oh, I am this." and think that you created that, but you didn't. Because if you did no inner work, all you did was get downloaded with a system in those first 5 years because you didn't have the ability to reject it.
Mhm.
Now, with with trauma, what happens is you're in this high state of negative emotion and a belief well, actually a thought comes in at the moment of the traumatic event that gets stamped onto your subconscious mind as a belief. And what I find is these are the very deeply seated beliefs that almost no one knows about, but they affect your entire life. And I love to give people the my example,
Mhm.
because it helps them, think about their own. And my most deeply set belief, negative belief was I'm unlovable. And so if you could just picture this little girl with this belief that she's unlovable and how it looks as she goes through her life, she literally does not have the ability to let the love in because the moment someone says to her, I love you, she can't trust them because she's not lovable. It is so deeply ingrained, right? While most people are walking around with these deep seated beliefs and they don't even know about them.
But
So they
why
don't,
I'm not
yes.
to cut you, but why would see, like, I know there are people, and I know for myself for years growing up, I I was very self-conscious about things when I was a little kid. And you're saying you felt that you were unlovable. But why would you feel where would that come from though? I mean, like,
It's just a deeply seated belief. It actually, when I follow it back, it came down my dad's track. He
mhm.
believed to the core of his
Okay.
being that he was unlovable. And so it was like I said, babies, they don't, receive information as words. In
Mhm.
fact, the two languages we learn when we're born into this world, the first two we learn is emotion and color. And what we do is we piece them together. So a lot of the processes that I do with my clients have to do with emotion and color.
Mhm.
So we're not even dealing with words per se. This is how my little mind, my young mind perceived it and took it on. But I didn't even understand that I had that belief until I started doing my own trauma work. I didn't know I had that belief.
Yeah.
But it did make sense when I found it because I saw how I had sabotaged all my relationships throughout the course of my life. And I'm not just talking about romantic ones, I'm talking about how I kept everyone kind of at bay. I had this like hand up, like, come no closer, you know? So the thing is all of our experiences in life all go back to a belief. So it doesn't even matter that it doesn't make logical sense to my physical mind. It's just deeply ingrained in me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You emphasize the inner child working in your coaching. Is that what you're talking about when you talk about inner child?
Yeah. Yeah. We get very intimate with if you think of the human being, here we are as grown women, right? And
Mhm.
we're like, "Oh, I'm a grown up."
Yeah.
Not really. Every age you have ever been still exists within you. So that little girl inside of you who's feeling maybe lost and scared. For me, I grew up with a very violent father in a very violent home. And I never felt safe. I was always scared. I was always on edge. And so that little girl still resides within me. And so when I find myself feeling fear, it's because I don't feel safe. It's because that little girl within me is somehow triggered. So we have to look at ourselves in a larger sense of we're not just the adult that we see in the mirror.
Mhm. How is the inner child crucial to your healing process?
Well, if we understand that our entire personality was created in those first 5 years, then it only makes sense that to get to the root cause of your emotions, like we have to go back to that age. That's where I start with my clients is we gotta go back to 0 to 5. We gotta go back to your earliest traumas, in order to neutralize these emotions that you have you
Mhm.
basically have all this pain trapped in your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine working through unresolved traumas can be challenging, right? H- How do you help your clients tackle those like deep rooted issues?
Well, it starts, when I first start working with them, first we get a very clear idea of what the pattern is.
Mhm.
So whatever that is, whatever their life has been looking like, whatever pattern they have, we zoom in, we take a good look at it, and then we follow it back. We follow it back to the seed, which is the belief. And usually we're going for the first 5 years. Sometimes it takes some time to go all the way back. But what we're looking for is the belief that was created in the moment.
Mhm.
And then we're also looking for the pain attached to it, and we're literally pulling the pain out. And as we pull the pain out of the body gets all this freed up space, and she recognizes and sees, oh my goodness, I created that identity just to survive my family of origin, just to survive my childhood. So, and that's what we all do. And if we don't go through our own healing journey, what happens is we just take on our parents' systems. It's like a combination of the two of them, but we just keep generating that same programming until we stop and do our inner child healing or our inner work.
It's like we're putting up a shield or something. I can kind of relate to that. I know we were talking a little bit offline. And you mentioned about what was it that you called
Yeah, generational curses.
generational? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Generational curses meaning trauma that
Mhm.
on the moment of conception, all dad's DNA and mom's DNA becomes yours, which means their wounding, their traumas, everything that they didn't deal with, boom, becomes yours.
I've definitely seen that. Your journey from dealing with childhood wounds to becoming a coach is very powerful. What are some pivotal moments in your own healing journey?
Well, the moment I had my first daughter,
Mhm.
yeah, so growing up with a lot of trauma, not really having processed it, barely getting through, coming out of these really low, low depressions, suicidal even, um, thinking that it was all behind me. Here I become a mom at 26, and I'm looking at my perfect little baby,
Mhm.
realizing, oh my gosh, I can't do to her was done to me. Like it has to stop with me. And it was really when I first became a mom, it's when all my triggers started going off. It's when I realized that I had a lot of stuff that I hadn't dealt with, and that's where even though, there were certain points along my journey where I realized it, it was one of those points that it was like, "No, I have to change this. Like,
Yeah.
I have to change this." So that was a big moment for me, and then another one I wouldn't say it was a moment, but I would say my husband and I had a very toxic relationship for a
Mhm.
lot of those years. I was incredibly toxic. He had a lot of undealt with wounds as well. And so we were just a hot mess.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I started doing the inner child work, when I started dealing with my childhood, and I started changing, I started to recognize how everything that I thought was him or thought was the circumstances of
Mhm.
this, that, or the other, I realized was just my perception from my very skewed lens in which I perceive the world through my brokenness, for lack of a better word. So it was life changing when I realized that it wasn't everyone else, it was actually me.
When women come to you, do you see a lot of breakthrough or are they kind of like hesitant to approach you with a lot of the trauma that they've dealt with? Or do they realize that they've had this trauma or
I'd say most of them don't.
they don't?
Because we think of trauma as like this catastrophic event. Oh, it was this car accident. It was war. We think of trauma as really big things, but to the child, a mere correction can feel like trauma. Like a lot of my traumatic events was um, my dad's form of punishment.
Mhm.
Um, to the child, a spanking is trauma. To the child, yelling at every time you yell at them is trauma. It doesn't it could be just your response, like, you're pulling them out of they walk into the street, and you're pulling them out, and you're saving their life,
Yeah.
but it still reads as trauma to the child. So it's not about judging it because we're all going to mess up our kids. We absolutely are. There's no way around it. None of us are getting out of
Yeah.
it. But we have to recognize that all of us experience trauma. So I have a lot of women that come in, they're like, oh, well, that's not me. I don't have trauma. But then we start to look.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, because I work with them a minimum of 12 weeks. I won't do less because I want a full transformation. And the work I do is very deep work. So if they haven't done any inner work before me, they could be more resistance, but I don't tend to take those kind of people. I take women who've already been on their journey. They've already done a lot of the work and they're really trying to figure out why they still can't find the love of their life or why they still can't fix this one thing. And so my work, the work that I do is very, very deep. I found a process that can get to the root and shift things very fast. And the sort of, if you want to call it downside to that, is that it's like a surgery. You
Mhm.
know, it's deep work, but you can't help but transform. They all transform.
Hmm.
They can't not. They walk away as a different person than when they came to me 100% of the time.
I was listening to what you're saying about different traumas, and one of the things that you said was yelling. And I would never look at it as trauma. A lot of times when I'm talking to my son and my voice will get a little elevated, he's like, "Why are you yelling?" And I'm like, I'm not yelling. I'm just now I
Speaking with
realize, I
passion.
don't want to try, I don't want to trauma you.
But that's why I wanna take the load off of all those moms out there because we don't eat like, you're not gonna know what tracks as trauma for one kid. So I have 3 kids. I
Mhm.
don't know what's gonna track as trauma for them, but I know without a doubt that I'm going to traumatize them,
Yeah.
not meaning to, but because I'm a human being,
Right,
right?
right.
So this isn't about perfection. I tell my kids all the time, "I'm sorry I messed you up." I use colorful language, but I'm trying to keep it clean.
Yeah.
But I'm like, "I know I messed you up. I did the best I could, and I'm going through my healing journey because I want to change for you guys, but there is no way I'm gonna be showing up a perfect little angel, okay? That just is not happening." But what I am growing. I'm in a constant state of growth. When I yell at them, raise my voice, I'll go to them and be like, "Gosh, I'm sorry." And they're like, "Yeah, it's cool, mom." And my older 2 are now teenagers. And when they get, we menstruate together, girl.
Mhm.
So when it's that one time of the month and we are all, my poor
Yeah,
husband,
yeah.
when we're all just like not okay, we
Mhm.
give each other grace to be like, "Oh, sorry, that was sorry," but, like, it's not about perfection because 'cause we'll never be perfect. But I tell them, "Hey, just like I had to do my inner work, you will also need to do
Mhm.
yours."
Yes.
And this has given me great compassion and great empathy for my parents because my parents did the best they could with what they were given, just like we all do. So, if anything, my healing journey allowed me to have a great deal of compassion for them, knowing that they were only going on the system they learned,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Compared to my dad's dad, that was not what my dad gave me was not abusive compared to what he experienced. So in his mind, it wasn't abuse. In
Mhm.
my dad's mind, he thought that he was protecting us from the world because what he went through as a child was so horrific,
Mhm.
right? And so that's why I say it's just perspective because even though he was abusive to us, in his eyes, he wasn't.
He wasn't. Wow.
Mm-mm.
For someone who's listening who might want to who might be new to the concept of trauma healing, where would you suggest they start?
I mean, if you're barely trying to dip your toes in the water, just listen to podcasts like this. But let's see. I mean, I where to start? That's where I would start is getting a better understanding of what trauma is. But if you're like I just tell people, you can do like I did, and trying to like figure things out on my own. But that was really the long route for me.
Mhm.
So I always encourage people, grab someone who's doing the work, who you can connect to, that is doing the work, that has the outcome that you want, and hire them to take you through it, because it'll be faster, it'll be easier, and you'll have someone to hold your hand saying, "Here's come, step here, step here, step here." So that's always the first thing I guide people to do. Yes, you could listen to podcasts like this. You could get a lot of free information, but
Mm.
you're probably not going to take it to any particular level on your own, because if you had that information, you would have healed yourself
Right.
already.
True.
So I always suggest that first. And then the second part to that is knowing there's no part of your life that you cannot change. There's just I told my daughter this the other day. I'm like, I changed my personality over and over and over again to fit the new identity that I wanted. There is nothing you're stuck with.
Yes.
And there's no circumstances of your life that you're stuck with. You get to choose,
Mhm.
but to the extent that you believe you can choose it, right? Because
Right.
victims, they really don't, in their mind, they have imprisoned themselves. So the best advice I can give you is find the people that have what you want and let them bring you to the promised land,
Yes. Yeah. It's
you
fun.
know?
You're saying how you remixed your life numerous times. I have a friend, Kendall Lanice. She's a life coach, and she calls herself the remix coach. And one of her
Ooh,
phrases are, "It's never too late to remix your life." We go through different phases in our lives. We're in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s and our 50s and our 60s. So every part of that lifetime, we're going to learn different things. We're going to grow. We're going to make mistakes. So we learn from those mistakes, and we grow and we remix. we,
remix,
we
girl.
do remix our lives, right?
Mhm.
Um, there may be a lot of misconceptions, common misconceptions people have about traumas. What are some?
The misconceptions that I see is, one, they view trauma as negative.
Yeah.
Trauma is not negative. It is the subconscious way of protecting you, right? If that last time you put your hand near the fire and it burnt you and you have a trauma from that, it's because your subconscious is saying, "Stay away from that fire. It's going to burn you."
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to turn the sensors off. We want to understand. So, what we get to learn is emotion and trauma, how they're connected, and how we can transmute the emotion so we can see the event. Because once we neutralize the trauma, meaning we take that emotional tag off of the traumatic event, what
Mhm.
happens is you can now view it completely neutral. You have no emotional tag to it. It's almost as if you're watching someone else's life or a movie.
Mhm.
There's no emotional tag to it. And from that place, you can extract the wisdom from it, right? So everything we go through is meant to do that for us, kind of like how you said. Um, if we see it as a gift, I see everything that I went through as a gift, especially the challenges, because the challenges stretched me. The challenges really created who I am, because
Mhm.
I was I grew from them because I chose to grow through them. Not everyone does. You
Right.
see people walking around and they still believe that they're a victim, and they have a million stories and will tell you all the stories that confirm that they are a victim, right? And
Yeah.
we all are, until we choose to be the victor, until we choose to say, even though that happened to me, I'm going to use that for good, because everything is always working out for my good.
That's right.
Everything will always work out for my good, because that is my choice,
That's your
right?
choice. That's right. That's right.
So that's the biggest misconception I see. There's such tremendous wisdom in trauma, and we get to look at that and see it for what it is and not judge it.
Ooh, you dropping some good gems, Tammy. I love it. I love it. So when you are not helping others heal, what do you do to take care of your own emotional health?
I do the same processes on myself that I do to my
You do?
clients.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, when I'm working with a client and I'm taking them through a process, I'm healing myself. So I actually get energized, little pieces of me gets healed because what I'm actually doing when I take them through a process is in that I'm in there with them. I'm
Mhm.
not only healing for them, but I'm healing myself. So it's what I do is so satisfying, gratifying, but also it's healing me
Mhm.
constantly. Um, but what I do, like journaling is deeply therapeutic for me. Walking in nature, I'm very connected prayer wise, spiritually, my spiritual connection is my greatest tool in the
Yeah.
toolbox, which is, being connected to the source within me, the all that is.
Mhm.
So those are the ways that I'm constantly growing, healing, and staying connected.
That kind of gets me to my next question. How do you keep your work fresh and inspiring, both for yourself and your clients?
How do I keep it fresh? I would have to say that I'm constantly, um, as I'm working with people, I'm getting better and better at finding the shortcuts because my goal is to get them the transformation that they want in the fastest time period. So that's kind of like challenging and fun for me of like, okay, this is working. And also my intuition when working with each individual, because what works for you isn't going to work for someone else.
Right.
So it's my ability to connect and challenge myself with each particular person. Like, for instance, because I have a podcast,
Mhm.
and my podcast isn't this style, it's not interview style. I actually take women through a process, my process that I do on my clients, and it's called Behind the Veil Anonymous
Okay.
Transformations. So,
Behind the veil?
yeah, Behind the Veil Anonymous Transformations. And so their image is completely, there's a silhouette over their screen, so you can't see them. So it's anonymous,
Hmm.
and this allows them to go very deep, and we go into their traumas. So it is like they let me take them through a whole process. So my goal for my podcast is that people learn how to heal themselves. But you will see, if you watch any of my podcasts, they come out of this because it's a light form of, you could call it hypnosis, right? It's a
Hmm.
very light form, meaning I don't put them in, they don't go all the way in, but we have tuned off the conscious mind. So, but what happens is that when they come out of it, they'll be like, "Oh, wow. Oh, well," I'll ask them how they're feeling. They're like, "I feel light," but they have just processed a lot of their trauma, so they have lots of emotion going on. It's intense, but the people that are drawn to that, I hope they learn how to do that for themselves, because as we learn to heal ourselves, gosh, can you just imagine what this world would look like if we had healthy human beings? We would just be radiating love constantly.
Yes.
We would
Yes.
just be like radiating that sweet, juicy
Ye-
love,
Yeah.
joy, peace. It would just be that it would be a natural, normal frequency on the planet, and you'd go into stores and you'd feel that versus the tension and the
Mm.
anxiety. Everyone just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if
Yes.
you're a feeler like that, but if you just
Yeah.
read the energy in any room or place you go into, it's like this, I got to get somewhere
Mhm.
that I'm not yet, and no one is just here. No one's just here soaking up the present moment, living in the now. It's so rare. So that's my goal, is to get people to that level of healing. So that's why I do my podcast.
Mhm.
So anyone who wants to get really juicy with it, who wants to really go deep, apply to be on my podcast. And I'd love to have you.
So, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone looking to establish deeper emotional intimacy in their relationships?
Oh, I'd say start going within yourself, because you cannot have a healthy relationship with another individual if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, as within, so without. This is just a hermetic law of the universe. You cannot have something externally that you don't have internally. So, I say start by getting so intimately connected with yourself. Why did I do that? Why am I believing that? What would I have to believe about myself in order to feel the way I feel? What would I have to believe about life? What would I have to believe about other people in order to feel these emotions I'm experiencing?
Mhm.
Start to get very curious about yourself, because everything that you are experiencing in your relationships is coming back to that relationship with yourself. So, curiosity is the name of the game. And can you do me another really big favor and stop judging yourself? Stop
Yeah.
judging yourself. Have so much compassion for you, because you went through all these things and it was a lot for you at that young age. Can you just hold space for that little you that has to process those big emotions that you were not ready for?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to tell people more than anything is like, grow in your compassion for yourself. Let go of the judgment for yourself. Learn how to nurture you, because what will happen is everyone around you will reflect that love
Mm.
that you radiate from within.
Yeah.
I hear people tell me all the time that they feel like they heal in my presence. And that's because I practice that.
Mm.
I practice that. I remember when I would read the Bible when I was really young, and um, I would read about the way Jesus healed people, and I just automatically knew that I do that. And so because of that belief, here I am doing the work I am doing now, and I don't need to say a word. Like, I could just place my hand on something and it's healed, because that's the belief I hold, is that the
Mm.
human body is a healing mechanism,
Yeah.
and we all get to heal ourselves to the extent that we allow it.
Tammy, what are you grateful for?
Life. I'm very grateful for this meat suit, because this meat suit allows me to smell, taste, touch, and experience this this physical experience. I'm very thankful for that.
I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to you, Tammy, for sharing your wisdom and your insights today. Your story is beautiful, beautiful testament to the power of healing from within. And your journey reminds us that it is possible to turn your personal struggles and everything that you're dealing with into powerful sources of strength and empowerment. If my listeners want to reach out to you and be a guest on your podcast, Behind the Veil, how would they do that? Can you give us your social handles and how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, I'll give you all the stuff.
Give
Okay.
all the stuff, girl. Give all the stuff.
So I will provide you with my link tree that you could
Mhm.
put in the show notes. So that has all my handles. It has an application to be on the podcast. It has like my email if you want to reach out, if you wanted to look into working with me to see if I'd be a good fit for you. You could set up a discovery call on the link tree. If you want to just find me on Instagram is where I hang out the most. So
Mhm.
that's Tammy, TAMMYN, as in Nancy, Cox, COX
Mhm.
7.
Okay.
That is my, Instagram handle, and that's kinda where I hang out if you wanna reach out and ask me a question. Lots of people do, relationship questions or whatnot. I welcome it all.
Any final thoughts?
Don't settle for a life you don't love. Follow your passion to the fullest, because your passion is it's that link to that bigger part of you. I see so many people settling for a mundane job that they don't like, settling for
Come
block
on.
love. I mean, settling for just low ticket. And I posted about this just today. I'm like, so many people are playing a background part in their own, like they're not even the leading role in their own movie. They're an
Mm.
extra. And it's like,
Wow.
What would it take? Why are you playing so small? Why do you believe that you're worthy of having crumbs? Like,
Mm.
let's just pretend that you're worthy of having everything that you desire.
Yes, yes.
And then figure out from there what's standing in the way, what your blocks are. It's like, if I believe, this is a question I love to ask. If I believed that I was worthy of having everything that I desire, what would I ask for? Do you know when I first start working with women and I ask them what they want, they just they sit there like this.
Hmm.
Sometimes 8 weeks go by before they can give me like 3 things on that list. I'm like, "How's your list going?"
Because that's a heavy question. I'm sitting here thinking, what would I want? Yeah, and that's a heavy
And why haven't I asked myself that question?
question.
Because I don't believe I'm worthy of having it, so why ask,
Yeah.
right? And we all have a bit of that. To some degree or another, we all have that bit of, "Oh, I'm not worthy of of asking for that. Oh my gosh, $1,000,000? No, I could never be worthy of having $1,000,000 or doing the kind of work that lights my soul on fire." Like, so that's why I say, if you believe that you were worthy of having anything that you desired, what would you ask for?
I'm gonna think on that. That's a great question.
Mhm.
And like you said, I I would never ask myself that. And I
I
know
ask myself on a daily basis, and I will tell you it changes. It will change, and that's okay because you're expanding and you're growing
right.
and like that, it's all good, but it's like constantly asking yourself is reminding your subconscious, "Hey, I know I'm worthy. So I'm gonna keep asking. And I'm not gonna be attached to the timing in which it wants to show up."
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Tammy. I thank you so much, Tammy, for coming in and dropping these gems for my listeners and to everyone who's listening, whether you're currently facing a relationship challenge or aspiring to find deeper self love and connection. Just remember Tammy's empower message. Healing is within your reach, and you have the strength to pursue the fulfilling life and relationships that you deserve. Ask yourself that. You deserve it. Ask what you want.
Mm.
Thank you to all who are listening for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, remember to take care of yourselves and keep striving for that emotional intimacy and fulfillment that you deserve. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Tammy.
Until next time, remember to embrace the journey, build lasting connections, and step boldly into all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Sheila Dunbar. Blessings to you.